Good morning, students. Welcome you to the Success at CA exam session organized by Board of Studies, ICAI. I am CA Aparna Chauhan.
And I am CA Dimple Goyal.
Yeah, today we are your mentor and guide. We are going to guide you through how to prepare, how to, face the examination basically. Along with that, actually, this session is in continuation with the session which we have taken in the month of March. We have already taken a session for your this final paper 4, direct tax laws and international taxation, wherein which we have covered in that what would be your question paper pattern, what is the syllabus coverage of the subject, and then we have informed you about that there are three sections in the subject. Basically, the broad section first is your substantive provisions, which is in section 1, then is provisions, procedural and compliance provisions, which is in section 2, then international taxation. So for those things, we have informed you what are the weightages assigned for these particular three sections. Accordingly, we have taken what type of questions would be asked in the examination from these three sections we have informed you. And along with all those things, we have revised the concept of charitable trust in the last session from section 1. In this section 1, there are two subsections basically. First section is in the first subsection is from chapter 1 to your chapter 9, assessment of various entities basically. So for that, the weightage assigned is 20 to 23%. So 24 to 26 marks can be asked from this chapters, right? So question can be asked in any form, whether it can be in the form of descriptive or MCQs form. And we have already told you that the preparation strategy for the paper for or any type of questions would be same. The difference is that how you are going to attempt those questions. That is, for MCQs, you know that you are not required to give any kind of reasoning, anything. But of course, for descriptive, you have to substantiate your answer with the relevant provision of law. The answer should be presentable properly, right? And for MCQs, what is the basic problem in the MCQ? That in case if you have gone wrong in MCQ, then you are not going to fetch any mark. You would get any 0, right? But in case in descriptive portion, there you have a chance to get the step marking, right? Before taking you to the session, one important thing that we have provided you the opportunity to join us through a Zoom link also. Please, for that, please note the Zoom link number. Basically, I will tell you what is the Zoom link number. Anna, another slide. What is this? Yes, it's 86554199978. What is the exact address, Dimple? They can join us through this Zoom link.
They just need to type this
meeting
ID
in the Zoom link, and you can join us through a Zoom link, right? Or you can also raise your queries through our this portal also. You can raise your queries and you can join your Zoom link meeting. So please, we are waiting for your time for that. Before that, proceeding with our technical things, we just revise you what we have covered in the last session, basically. So these are the three broad sections of the subject. Section 1, as I have told you, that descriptive questions would be there, MCQ question would be there. MCQs also, that too is will be asked in the form of case scenario based, right? So one case scenario would be there, and then the 3 to 5 MCQs would be appended to that case scenarios. So main problem in the MCQ is that you have to be very, very careful while attempting the MCQs, since you are not going to fetch any mark in case you have gone wrong, or options would be very closely related. So you have to be very attentive while choosing the option basically. So preparation strategy is same for descriptive question as well as for the MCQ portion, right? But the thing is, in descriptive, basically what type of questions would be asked in section 1, we have covered that first question, compulsory question would be there from this section 1 basically, and then which is testing your evaluation and interpretation synthesis skills will be tested from this compulsory question, which would be asked from this section 1, subsection 1, right? Then subsection 2 of section 1 also been assigned a weightage of 20 to 22%. So question would be asked for 22 to 24 marks. So this is a very small portion, but having a huge weightage being assigned. So it covers charitable trust. For that, we have already discussed, how to approach a charitable question, right? This is a one chapter which also includes the specific provision related to REITs on investment funds and trust also are being included in this charitable trust chapter, right? Then you are going to be then chapter 11, tax planning, tax avoidance, and tax evasion, or GAR is also included in this chapter. Then chapter 12, taxation of digital transaction. This is again a one chapter which is covering your equalization levy and VDA. So what we have planned today, we have planned that apart from this charitable trust or section 1 may we are going to revise you the concept of equalization levy basically. And then from section 2, Section 2, which is on procedural law, in this one important aspect for this under the new scheme, that tax audit chapter being introduced for in this paper, right? Then black money law also is forming part of this section 2. And weightage assigned for this section is 24 to 34 marks. In this TDS chapter is there, right? Which is very, easy also. It's not very difficult, but you can score a good mark if you are, done the TDS provisions properly. So we have planned to take you through one TCS questions from this section. Then from section 3, if time permits, then we are going to revise some of the concepts from this section as well, right? So this is the strategy of the today's session, that how we are going to proceed with. In case of any query, we are waiting to some students who join our Zoom link. So this is the thing which we have to do from these sections, right? We have covered what type of questions would be asked from section 1. Already done. Compulsory question would be there. MCQ 30% is the MCQ based. So mainly आपका case scenario based MCQs would be there. Mainly major portion would be case scenario based MCQ. In descriptive portion there would be 6 questions. First question is compulsory. From the 5 questions you have to attempt the 4 questions, right? This is the question paper pattern. So I think we can start revising the concept, Dimple.
Yes, we can start our first case scenario, which is based on the equalization levy. So
Yes.
through this, we will devise you the concept of equalization levy and how it emerge with the significant economic presence. Then your royalty, for that you have to see the DTA also. So it includes many provisions in one case scenario. So student, please be attentive and please listen carefully and understand these provisions.
So see, equalization levy, it's a very nice concept actually, which is not being forming part of an income tax. And there is a logic why it is not forming part of income tax, why it is being, introduced by a finance act. This is not a levy which is the income tax. There is a reason why. See, BEP section actions have been, introduced such concepts that taxing the e-commerce transactions basically. If a person, because we have the income tax which, covers the income source based taxation, which covers the tax charge which takes the income of a non-resident which is arising from India. But in respect of, which are being digitally being earned, are no provision are there under the Income Tax Act. Simultaneously, DTA also not cover these kinds of provisions. You are very well aware that as per Section 90, Section 90 says, in case if DTA are more beneficial, then DTA would prevail over the Income Tax Act, right? So in case if they, introduce the equalization levy in the Income Tax Act itself, then DTA would prevail over it. So then it would not have any use. For that purpose, what has government done? That they have introduced separately in the Finance Act 2016, right? In the Finance Act 2016, they have come out with the concept of equalization levy, basically. So later on in the by the Finance Act 2020, the scope of equalization levy been expanded to cover the e-commerce supply and services also. Earlier, it was for the specified services, and the both are the equalization levy, but the manner of paying the tax to the government are different under the both things, right? In two sections are there, basically section 165. Let me explain you how it work about. What is the difference basically between these two sections? See, there are equalization levy के लिए. It's so thick, right? I need to. From where its thickness can be reduced? From here, yes. So equalization levy, there are two sections. Section 165, section 165A, right? Section 165 is in respect of specified services. It is in respect of specified services, or this is in respect of e-commerce, e-commerce supply or services. This is difference. As of now, in this, only online advertisements are covered. Only online advertisement are covered. Here, you have to understand what is this e-commerce supply and services. Before proceeding this, let me clear you on which section 165 is applicable on what as a specified services online advertisement, right? In this online advertisement, who is required to pay the equalization levy? This you have to be very clear. See, here the rate is 6%. Is it has to be the rate is 6%. Here the rate is 2%. This has to be paid to the government by way of withholding tax. That means the person who is paying to the non-resident has to deduct the tax, withholding tax, and pay to the government. Here the e-commerce operator. Here a new term comes. It's an e-commerce operator. It has to pay the equalization levy on the amount of consideration received by him. Right? Here what is happening? In section 165, what will happen? In section 165, it has to be, the equalization levy has to be deducted on the amount of consideration received by non-resident. Who is non-resident, who is not having a P. Very, very important concept. Who is not having a P. Actually, यहाँ पे that PE concept basically, you will get confused कि what is the concept of PE basically here. यहाँ पे one thing you please note down, all the income which accrue arising in the hands of a non-resident, if it is from India, then it would be chargeable to tax in India. If that non-resident is having a P in India, then that income would be chargeable by under the Income Tax Act itself. But the person who is not having any P in India, then how the government going to collect that tax on this specified services? For that purpose, equalization levy is being levied. So here, who is not having a PE in India, right? You are that, if then who is required to deduct that tax? This again is very important. Who is required to deduct that tax? A person resident in India plus a non-resident who is having a PE in India. जिसकी यहाँ पे PE होगी उसको, and a resident. So here, who is required to deduct the equalization levy? A person who is resident in India and that specified services are used for the purpose of business or profession. Make it a point that these services has to be utilized for the purpose of business of profession. Then that person resident in India or a non-resident who is having a PE in India would deduct equalization levy on the amount of consideration paid to a resident who is not having a PE in India. Right? In case अगर PE होता उस resident का, then that resident की income would itself be chargeable to tax if it arising from India as per section 9 itself, right? But if he is not having a PE, then equalization levy concept would get attracted. So another important thing in this, how we can add simple page here. Fine. Uh, So let me clear you through this. No, I don't know. So let me take you through this. I will explain this concept here itself. Right here, what we are saying that who is required to deduct the equalization levy under section 165? A resident in India who is using those services for the purpose of business or profession, or a non-resident having a PE in India. But if they are the consideration is being received by a non-resident not having a PE in India. So there are certain exclusion also on which the equalization levy under section 165 would not be applicable. What are those exclusions? First exclusion is non-resident having a PE in India. The person who is providing these specified services having a PE in India. ठीक है? Then the aggregate amount of the consideration paid by that resident or a non-resident who is having in India is less than 1 lakh rupees. Is less than is one does not exceed 1 lakh rupees. So 1 lakh, 1 lakh or less than 1 lakh rupees does not exceed your 1 lakh rupees. So this is the case. This is one exception that threshold limit is 1 lakh rupees ka. That means up to 1 lakh rupees, you need not to deduct the levy, equalization levy. Or no, if the non-resident is having P in India, then also equalization levy would not be attracted. Plus that person, resident or a non-resident, not having a having a P in India, are not utilizing it for the purpose of business or profession. Not utilizing for business or profession. In that case, yes, no. One query I have received from Munish Kumar. He is saying, is equalization levy to be deducted other than TDS? See, if equalization levy is deducted, if it is falling within the purview of 165 or 165A, then that consideration would be exempted by virtue of section 1050. Section 1050 says on the consideration on which the provisions of Finance Act 2016 attracted or which fall within the definition of specified services on which equalization levy been paid, on that amount would be exempted. That means they will not be subjected to income tax. In case they would not be subject to income tax, so there is no requirement for deduct the TDS as per the Income Tax Act, right? You have to, analyze the provisions first. First, आप क्या देखोगे? What you will see whether the equalization levy is attracted or not. For that purpose, you have to remember when equalization levy is attracted. That I have explained you. Section 165 I explained you. When equalization levy is attracted under section 165, that if on the amount of consideration, received or receivable by an received or receivable, this is 165, on the amount of consideration for specified service received or received by a person being a non-resident from a person resident in India carrying on business or profession, non-resident having P. In these two cases, यहाँ पे ये ध्यान रखना है, you have to keep in mind कि यहाँ पे इस person का बोलना है if that person not having a P. But if a non-resident, if the services are being taken by a non-resident, then you have to see whether that non-resident is having a PE or not, right? In case the services are provided to a non-resident, here I am telling you, if the services are provided to a non-resident who is not having a PE, then that case equalization levy under section 165 would not be attracted. You have to keep in mind किसका PE है, किसका नहीं है. The service provider you have to see whether the service provider is having a P or not, that or the services who are being received, who are being taking the services, we have to see if that resident has having a P in India or not. Then in case if the equalization levy is attracted either under section 165 or under section 165A, then that consideration would be exempted under section 1050. In that case, you need to deduct the TDS. Right? There are the certain exclusions when equalization levy would not be attracted. Is that first I have already told that if that non-resident is having a PE in India and the specified services are effectively connected with such PE, those things that first of all, when the equalization levy would not be attracted under section 165, that is a non-resident who is providing a specified services is having a PE in India, plus those services are effectively connected by that PE. That means that effectively connected means that PE itself is providing those services. In that case, no, would not be attracted. Then the aggregate amount, again, you have to see the aggregate amount received from a person. You have to, they are the individual, separate limit would be checked for each resident. You have to keep in mind here the separate limits would be is required to be checked for from a person resident in India carrying on business or profession. Carrying on. This is again a very important. If it is there have been services are being used for a personal purposes, then 165 would not be attracted. It may be possible 165A can be attracted. That we will check. So here does not exceed. Here does not exceed 1 lakh. If it is 1 lakh, then if the consideration does not exceed 1 lakh pe bhi that equalization levy would not be chargeable, right? Exceed karega, then only it would be chargeable. When the payment for specific services by a person resident in India or pay in India is not for the purpose of carrying out business or profession, that I've explained you. This is 165. Make sure how on what things 165 would be attracted. In case suppose there are certain questions also given in your study material where we have provided you the different situations. Suppose a person who non-resident having a PE in India is providing those specified services, then equalization levy would be attracted. Equalization levy would not be attracted, right? PE hai, then equalization levy would not be attracted. If that person is, having a PE in India, then what would happen? Equalization levy would not be attracted 165. Then we have to check whether that is not falling within the purview of section 165A also. First, you have to check whether this can follow under the section 165A or not. That we will check. Then, if both are things are not being covered, suppose if both the things are not attracted, then on that amount you have to see and check section 9. Whether section 9 ke according it is deemed to accrue arise in India in that case or not. That you have to check. Then accordingly, the provisions of TDS would be attracted or that amount would be chargeable to tax in his hands, right? If there is a business connection, then you have to check that. See, 165A में क्या है? 165A expanded its scope basically by the Finance Act 2020. Earlier only specified services are covered. Specified services में what things they have covered? Online advertisement at presently or any other service which may be notified by the central government. As of now, no services are being notified. Now, in the year 2020, Finance Act 2020 expanded the scope of equalization levy to cover the e-commerce supply of services. E-commerce supply of services also on what that in that case equalization levy would be attracted at the rate 2% would be chargeable on the amount of consideration received or received by e-commerce operator from e-commerce supplier services made or provided or facilitated by it. You have to keep यहाँ पे two things, e-commerce operator. Who is an e-commerce operator? You have to know who is an e-commerce operator first, right? Or for e-commerce supply or services on those things. These are very important. So equalization levy would be chargeable in the hands of e-commerce operator itself. In case an e-commerce operator received any consideration, right, for e-commerce supply or services from whom? You have to see from whom a person resident in India एक रेजिडेंट से रिसीव कर रहा हो अमाउंट या एक नॉन रेजिडेंट से और फ्रॉम अ नॉन रेजिडेंट इन द स्पेसिफाइड सर्कमस्टांसेस राइट or from a person. See the scope, how they have expanded the scope of that person, e-commerce operator. They have expanded the scope in that manner that from a resident, of course, if you are receiving something, you are earning income actually. If you are selling something, you are providing some services to a resident person, resident in India, then you are earning income from India. So on that aspect, that is well and fine. Then from a non-resident, the specified circumstances, or it's a broadly again to a person, anybody you are providing those services who buy such goods or services by using internet protocol address located in India. So this is, see the boundaries of that equalization levy. So they have covered person resident in India or non-resident in specified circumstances, or to a person who buys such goods or services using internet protocol address located in India. This is very very important. आपको देखना है. अब now let me take you through what is e-commerce operator basically. First understand the term what is e-commerce operator. E-commerce operator is a non-resident. First of all, is a non-resident. ठीक है? Who owns, operates, manages or a digital electronic facility or platform for online sale of goods or online provision of services, like Amazon. Amazon is having such a huge platform in which, you know, there are huge many sellers are from India or outside India, maybe there. So any such kind of facility, there are e-commerce, many operators are there who are having owned that owns or operates or manages a digital platform for providing or selling the goods or online provision of services, right? So is it required that the e-commerce operator himself owns such goods, or it can facilitate the services? Both things are covered in e-commerce supplier services. Make sure that, see, first, what is e-commerce supplier services? E-commerce owns online sale of goods. Up online, you are selling those goods which are owned by the e-commerce operator himself. Those goods are owned by e-commerce operator, or services are also provided by e-commerce operator. Plus, these online sale of goods or provision of service are facilitated. Very broad term actually. These are being facilitated, means you are selling the goods or providing the services on behalf of whether that person, that other person are using your platform. Basically, you are facilitating, you know, that persons to come and sell their goods through your platform or to provide the services through your platform. So you are facilitating, you know, by way of providing them the platform. So e-commerce supply and services में either own भी हो सकता है, or either they can facilitate or provide the services. So or any combination, both things. You can also provide the own भी करते हैं, and you are facilitating to the other you know, persons also for engaging in the online sale of goods or services. This is the things. E-commerce operator, now you understand who is an e-commerce or non-resident होना चाहिए, who owns, manages or operates the digital or platform for online sale of goods or services. E-commerce supply also you are aware of. So this e-commerce supply or services is a very very broad term basically. यहाँ पे in case 165 does not attract, suppose that a person is you know, using those specified services not for the purpose of business or profession, then also it can fall within the, you know, purview of e-commerce supply or services. That online advertisement services can fall within the purview of this e-commerce supply or services, right? So आपको पहले 165 you have to check if in case of online advertisement is there. Then if it is not falling by one of the reasons being there for non-applicability के लिए, then you will check and see the provisions of 165A as well. Now, what are the, I have told, we know now that from the consideration can be received from a person resident in India, from a non-resident, or from any person who are using the internet protocol address located in India. Then when it would not be chargeable, equalization levy, there are certain circumstances when equalization levy would not be chargeable to tax. When equalization levy would not be levied. What are those circumstances? Like likewise in case of 165, if that e-commerce operator have a PE in India. Very easy. If he is having a PE in India, then there is no problem, you know, to tax that person. If that person is having a PE in India, then equalization levy would not be attracted, since in that case, Income Tax Act can themselves levy the tax, right? If equalization levy is leviable under section 165, that you know, first you have to check 165. अगर 165 में नहीं levy हो रही है equalization levy, then you will see and check 165A. So when it is levied under section 165, then you need not to again come to the 165A. Then third condition is sales turnover gross receipts. Very very important. Sales turnover or gross receipts of the e-commerce operator from e-commerce supply or services made or provided or facilitated is less than 2 crore. वहां पे क्या था, डज नॉट एक्सीड 1 लाख था, यहाँ पे लेस देन 2 करोड़ है. सो 2 करोड़ होगा या उससे ज्यादा होगा, देन दिस 165 वुड बी अट्रैक्टेड, राइट? यहाँ पे व्हाट यू हैव टू सी, ई कॉमर्स ऑपरेटर किससे, फ्रॉम the e-commerce supply or services means owned goods भी sale कर रहा है या himself is providing the services or facilitating that e-commerce supply through his platform. Both things would be included, but make sure कि it's नहीं globally if he is doing something outside India, like a person who is not using the IP address located in India, then also that whole turnover would not be included for the purpose of this consideration. Only the consideration received from a resident in India, from a non-resident in specified circumstances, or from any person who buys goods or using the services using the service by using the internet IP address located in India. Those consideration have to be combined and check whether it is not exceeding this 2 crore or exceeds this 2 crore limit for the applicability of section 165A. Understand? So this is the thing. The specified circumstances pe, we have discussed that in case specific non-resident case, if you are engaging using selling the advertisement for the non-resident, then it would be fall into this. If you are selling some data to the non-resident for which targets the Indian customer, or that data is collected from a resident in India who using the internet protocol address, your sale is being basically derived from the person who are resident in India or who are using the IP address located in India. If such kind of you are engaging in those circumstances, then that non-resident key consideration would also be included for the purpose of levying this equalization levy under section 165A. Right? One important, very very important is कि consideration में, as I told you, कि person resident in India में, if you are receiving a consideration from person resident in India, then it would be included. Suppose we have taken this example actually. In this, we have covered the whole, both the pictures of 165 and 165A are covered in that example. I will take you that example before, let's see this provision also. Here, this is very important that the consideration, everything is being included. Suppose an Indian company is using that platform of a non-resident e-commerce operator, and that Indian company is selling the goods. Indian company is selling the goods to the Indian customers who are residing in India also, or any person who buys the goods from IP address located in India. Then when that amount also would be, come under the purview of equalization levy? No, that amount would not come under the equalization levy. Why? Because the Indian company itself is chargeable to tax in India. That company is, whatever amount that company is earning from selling those goods or providing those services itself are paying taxes, and that amount would not fall within the purview of this equalization levy. So consideration for sale of goods, irrespective of whether the e-commerce operator owns the goods, would include, that I already covered, that consideration आपका include करेगा, वो on करेगा या किसी platform के through consideration received होगा. Then, however, it shall not include consideration for sale of goods which are owned by a person resident in India or by a PE in India, or by a PE in India of a person non-resident in India, if sale of such goods is effectively connected with such PE. So if an Indian company is, utilizing the services of e-commerce operator, then whatever be the amount that e-commerce operator is receiving by selling those goods of Indian services would not be included in that consideration amount, right? Or a non-resident having a PE also would not be included if those, say, such sale or goods is effectively connected with the PE. Similarly, for provision of services also, that consideration, if it is consideration for provision of services which are provided by a person resident in India or by a PE in India of a non-resident, which are, if provision of services is effectively connected with such specified, connected with such PE. So these are the things consideration के लिए. So let's take you through that example. I will ask you, I want you to, attempt those questions. I will ask you, pose you the questions to you, that what would be the answer in that case. See, here, let me read this case scenario for you. In case if you have any query, you can raise your hand and you can ask your query. We will unmute you. See, here in this Ester Inc. Let me read you. Ester Inc. is a company based in Canada which owns, operates, and manages a digital platform which acts as a marketplace for buying and selling e-readers of different brands globally, and which also hosts advertisements. It also hosts advertisement. ठीक है? Also hosts has been. So here क्या है? It's in Ester Inc. is based in Canada. And through this website, Ester Inc. sold e-readers of ABC Limited, and XYZ to customers during the previous year 23-24. With the details are being given here. So Ester Inc. is an e-commerce operator. See, it owns or manages or a digital platform for providing the online sale of goods and services, e-commerce supply and this. And basically, this information is provided in respect of ABC Limited, which are using their platform of Ester Inc. and XYZ Inc. also, which is also using the platform Ester Inc. for sale of online or sale of e-readers, basically sale of e-readers to the customers. So what is the profile of ABC Limited and XYZ Inc.? ABC Limited is an Indian company. ABC Limited is an Indian company engaged in designing, manufacturing, and selling e-readers. And XYZ Inc. is a Singapore-based company. It's a Singapore-based company, not having any PE in India. Not having a PE in India, engaged in designing, manufacturing, selling e-readers. Right? So यहाँ पे क्या करना है आपको? ABC Inc. Limited, to whom these its goods are being sold to the Indian customers or customers outside India buying e-readers using internet protocol address located in India. How much number? 2,500 e-readers are sold to Indian customers, and 250 e-readers are sold to customers outside India through internet IP address located in India. So whether equalization levy would be attracted in respect of ABC Limited? Ester Inc. Now I am posing a question to you that whether Ester Inc. is required to pay equalization levy on the amount of consideration for sale of goods of ABC Limited to Indian customers or to customers outside India located in India. I am posing to question this to you. Whether equalization levy would be attracted in respect of these e-readers which are sold on behalf of ABC Limited to Indian customers. Outside India, you are saying would be attracted. Ajay Tinwar is saying that outside India. Are you sure, Ajay? Any other person? Very portal pe. Not 100% sure. Why? I explain you the concept. See. Ajay, technical team, you can unmute Ajay. Hello. Ajay, you can tell me now what you understand, why you are feeling that customers outside India on that amount declaration levy would be attracted. Can you explain? Ajay, your voice, we are not able to listen you, Ajay. So, see, let me clear you. In 65 and we have read that equal amount of consideration received from Indian customers. Yes, applicable. Who is saying? Viraj Desai is also saying yes, applicable. On both the things, Viraj? आप एक बार please go through the concept which I already explained you. Go through the concept. This is an important thing which you are missing actually. You are reading just only 165A. You are not reading the consideration amount. What amount of consideration would be on both cases? Viraj Desai is saying both cases. Technical team, you can unmute Viraj Desai in case if he wants to speak something. You can raise your hands, then I will, unmute you. Viraj, if you want to answer, you can raise your hand. Yeah, Viraj, you can say if you want to speak and you are not able to raise your hand. Now you can speak. We are able to listen you. Please speak. Technical team, please see why they are not, why their voice is not audible. Okay, and Ajay के case में I think same problem is there. Okay, no issue. So you are saying, I will explain you once again, Viraj. See here, what is happening here? You are actually one instance where you are right that from Indian customer, that consideration is received from Indian customers. Okay, so it has to be, or from of course any person who buys goods by using the IP address also in both case. But one important thing which I explained you, that consideration amount would not include what it would not include. However, it shall not include consideration for sale of such goods which are owned by a person resident in India. So यहाँ पे ABC company क्या है? ABC is an Indian company and by default it's a resident in India, right? Those goods are manufactured and designed by the ABC Limited itself. So that consideration, of course, they are selling to the Indian customers, but you have to see whether which are the goods the company is selling actually. These goods are owned by ABC Limited, an Indian company which is resident in India. So on that consideration, whether it is selling to the resident in India or to a person who are using their IP addresses located in India, on both the things, equalization levy would not be attracted. Equalization levy would not be attracted. राइट यहाँ पे नहीं लगेगा क्योंकि ये कंसिडरेशन का पार्ट नहीं है आप देखोगे इक्वलाइजेशन लेवी के सेक्शन में इट्स सेटिस्फाइंग द फर्स्ट कंडीशन दैट या इट इज फ्रॉम रेजिडेंट द कंसिडरेशन इज रिसीव्ड फ्रॉम इंडियन कस्टमर्स ऑफ कोर्स or from customers who are using IP addresses. But ultimately, the base is that though these goods are, ABC Limited is, utilizing the platform, using the platform of Estering for selling their goods. So ABC Limited means these goods are owned, which the goods are sold to the Indian customers are owned by ABC Limited, being a resident in India. So on that, equalization levy under section 165A would not be attracted. समझ गए? I think hope you are clear. Viraj, are you clear with that? You are not able to raise your hand also, I think. Through chat box, you can tell me. Are you able to, now it's clear? Yes, okay. So please, this is the crux actually. In that form, MCQ question can be asked. आपको 4 options दे दिए जाएंगे. In that way, you have to be very clear कि आपका यहाँ पे कैसे you have to check all the circumstances, right? When equalization levy would be attracted. In second case, what is happening? XYZ Inc. a Singapore based company है, ठीक है? यहाँ पे इंडियन कंपनी नहीं है. these goods are not owned by the Indian company but they are sold to Indian customers. ठीक है? they are sold to Indian का यहाँ पे लगेगा. In the second case, now I want to know from you if these goods are being owned by XYZ Inc. a Singapore based company who is not having a PE in India. In that case, आप यहाँ पे confuse मत होना. don't get confused with the 165. 165 में होता था कि that your consideration is that specified services are provided to a person resident in India or a person having a PE in India, then only. But यहाँ पे you have to see कि to whom they are selling. Both the things you have to see, right? This is selling to the Indian customers, but you are earning something from selling the goods from the Indian customer. This company is not chargeable to tax, but the that Aster Inc. is earning something indirectly. This XYZ Inc. is earning from India. So on that aspect, how the government have make a circle that how the Indian customer, the earnings which being rising from India would be chargeable to tax in the hands of Aster Inc. So that consideration would fall within the purview of equalization levy. So यहाँ पे क्या होगा? Yes, right, Preeti, you are right. So from Indian customers as well as from this, now you have to check whether the 2 crore limit is exceeding. Here it's exceeding. It's 2 crore 40 lakh from these Indian customers, and it's something 1 crore 20 lakh from this. So 3 crore 60 lakh is the overall amount. On that amount, Esther Inc. has to pay, not XYZ Link or nor ABC Limited has to deduct. Esther Inc. has to pay that equalization levy to the government, and on the consideration received from Indian customers as well as from customers outside India. On both these things, equalization levy at the rate, what percent? 2%. Equalization levy would be required to be paid. Now, in the same situation, another important thing, additional information is given to you. What is this additional information? It's provided that ABC Limited paid 25 lakh to Esther Inc. ABC Limited paid 25 lakh to Esther Inc. for hosting advertisement for promoting sale or to customers outside India. ABC Limited is utilizing the services of Esther Inc. for online advertisement also, for sale of customers outside for the purpose of business itself it's getting. And XYZ Inc. also paid 32 lakh to Esther Inc. for hosting advertisement for promoting sale to customers in India. Very, very interesting actually. Now I want you people to answer me in respect of this 25 lakh, whether equalization levy would be attracted. If yes, then who is required to pay, or who is liable to pay that equalization levy? Who is liable to on whom the burden is there to collect the tax or to pay the equalization levy? You tell me. On 25 lakh, whether equalization levy would be attracted in that case. Preeti, you can answer. Ajay, Viraj, whether equalization levy would be attracted, first you answer me this. On this 25 lakh rupees. Preeti, yes. ABC Limited is required to deduct equalization levy at the rate 6%.
6%.
Yes, yeah, now your voice is clear. Yeah, very good. So you understand it. Now, second question now, XYZ Inc. case, what will happen? XYZ Inc. also paying 32 lakh rupees to Esther Inc. for hosting advertisement for promoting sale to customers in India. Now you tell me whether equalization levy is attracted in that case also?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Under which section?
Under 165A.
165A. Very, very nice. Very good. Yes, you are right.
2%.
Yeah. You know it why? Preeti, can you explain why 165A?
Because, let me,
Yes, yes, please.
165A, because advertisement is targeting the customers resident in India. That's why.
Why 165 is not attracted in that case? Why you are going to 165A?
Because Aster Inc. is not an Indian company. It is a Singapore-based company
XYZ
and
Inc.
not having a PE in India.
Yes, very right. So यहाँ पे क्यों नहीं लगेगा 165? Because यहाँ पे you have to see that equalization levy and receiving 165 attracts only when it is the specified services are received by the resident in India or a person having a PE in India, non-resident having a PE in India. But यहाँ पे XYZ Inc. is not having a PE in India, but it is for hosting advertisement. So it is from a non-resident which targets the Indian customers basically, which targets the Indian customers. So it is falling within the value of 165A. यहाँ पे 165 नहीं लग रहा है. That's why यहाँ पे we have to go to the 165A. 165 में they are satisfying the condition 165A. So who is liable to pay here the equalization levy? Who is liable to pay the equalization levy? Esther Inc. Esther Inc. is liable to pay equalization levy at the rate 2% since already the consideration amount exceeds 32 lakh hai, but it exceeds 2 crores itself in this case. It already received consideration from Indian customers or customers located outside India who are using IP addresses located in India, right? So already exceeds, so 2% में equalization levy would be as required to be paid by Esther Inc. from on this 32 lakh rupee as well. This is about the equalization levy 169. Everything you are clear. One more important thing is that in case suppose some services are in the nature of royalty. If some services are in the nature of royalty, then equalization levy would be attracted or not. You have to see it. If suppose something you have on the services on the amount consideration which is in the nature of royalty, the consideration which is in the nature of royalty as per Income Tax Act, you have to read the Income Tax Act along with the DTA also. If suppose DTA provides, the DTA says that it is not falling within the definition of royalty, then it would not be classified as royalty because DTA are more beneficial. Then income tax would not be attracted as per the Income Tax Act also. That amount would not be chargeable to tax. Then that royalty amount would again, you have to see whether the equalization levy provision would be attracted on that aspect or not. In case if there is no DTA, suppose in case if there is no DTA, then you have to see whether it is falling within the definition of royalty as per section 9, because section 9 mein explanation 4 is there, which is very vast, in case of computer software specifically. In case of computer software, we have a Supreme Court ruling also, in which it is clearly saying, as per the DTA, basically, as per explanation 1, the copyright, if you are having the right for to use the copyright, then it would fall within the definition of royalty. But explanation 4 expanded the scope. In case if you are using the computer software itself for the paying the consideration for use of computer software, then also it would qualify as a royalty. It's a vast definition, right? But DTA are not providing that kind of definition. So in case if DTA are more beneficial, then Income Tax Act would not be attracted and it would not be subject to royalty. It would not fall within the definition of royalty. Then in that case equalization levy would be attracted. If DTA is not there, then you have to see the definition of provided under section 9 explanation 1, read along with the explanation 4 also. If those conditions are satisfied, then it would be chargeable to tax in the hands of non-resident, provided are subject to other conditions also. Then equalization levy would not be attracted. In relation to that, actually one of the question is being included in the MTP also. I think you all have solved that MTP, in which now in the MTP, basically in the MTP, we have covered that provision relating to equalization levy, testing your, DTA provisions also, testing your TDS provisions also, and equalization levy provisions along with that. So in the case of royalty and FTS, now the rates being increased to 20%. In the last finance earlier assessment year, the rate was 10% only. The rates now is 20%. So to check, to provide you the inform you about the amendment also, or to check all these provisions, there is a case scenario. I think you have already done with that. In case of any doubt relating to that, you can ask me right now, I will answer you. And now this is about, we have covered section 1 provision, some of the provision in the last session, like section 115 BA, BAB. What are the important things you have to keep in mind? It's very, very important. 115 BA, BAB, very important. Go through those things, because first compulsory question would be based on that, how to maximize the tax benefit, maximize the minimize the tax liability. Minimize the tax liability of the company. In that case, you have to compare both the concession tax regime as well as the normal provision also, we have discussed in the last session. Then we have covered with the charitable trust revision also. Now we are covered with the equalization levy. Now we are moving to the section 2, which is on the procedural law. This is very important. We feel there is an amendment in the TCS relating to overseas remittances and overseas tour program packages, and there is an applicability date also when it will become effective. That is very, very important, because from that effective rate, the different rates are going to be applied. So this you have to keep in mind. In relation to that, we have already covered in our MTPs also, in our RTP also, we have given you case scenario based on that. The question can be asked in the form of descriptive also based on that, right? These things what we are covering, they can be tested you through the descriptive questions also. So I think Dimple will explain you, take you through that, those provisions relating to TCS under section 2063(1)(g, right? These are very important. So let's revise those provisions. In case if you have any doubt, any clarification you want, you can ask me.
Hope student, you have clear with the equalization levy provision. If you have any doubt, you can just ask regarding the equalization levy. Otherwise, we will move to the TCS provisions. So I'm just giving 1 or 2 minutes time. So if you have any query related to equalization levy, SEP, then you may please ask. So I am hoping it's all clear. Viraj, Preeti, Ajay, just give me a go ahead so that we can just start with the TCS provisions. Okay, so I'm just starting with the TCS provision. Okay, Viraj. So now TCS provision under section 206(c)(1)(g). Why this is so important? Because there was an amendment in this section. Earlier, by Finance Act 2023, there was an amendment in this section, and the amendment was effective with the date from 1st July 2023. So they have increased the rate. Government has increased the rate of TCS on your remittance, overseas remittance, and for overseas tour package. And that amendment was applicable with from 1st July 2023. But by way of a press release, they have issued a press release on 28th June 2023. And by way of this press release, they have just postponed this date to 1st October. It means the amendment which was going to be effective from 1st July, they will be effective from 1st October 2023. And along with that, they have made certain modification also. So what was the modification? What is a new provision? All these things we will be dealing here. Why this is so important? Because this is the section in which many rates are there. Your 5% rate is there, 20% rate is there, 0.5% rate is there. For the purposes you are remitting the amount, that also differ. If you are remitting for education purpose, then TCS rate would be different. Then there's a threshold also, threshold of 7 lakh. When this threshold will be applicable, why when it will not be applicable, for which purpose it will be applicable. So all these things, this section is very now complicated. So I will be trying to devise this section to you in a very simplest manner. So on whom this section is applicable means who are required to collect TCS under this section. So there are two types of person who are required to collect TCS under this section. First is your authorized dealer. It means if the authorized dealer is receiving the amount for remittance under LRS. Then he is required to collect tax at source under this section. Second one is for overseas tour package seller. if overseas seller of an overseas tour package receives an amount for tour package, then he is required to collect tax at source. They will collect it. Who will from whom? From buyer. Then he also received the amount from whom? From a buyer. But the definition of buyer is different in both the case. Here, who is the buyer? The person who is remitting such amount. But here, who is the buyer? Who is purchasing the tour package. So first of all, just understand on whom this section would be applicable. Every person who is an authorized dealer who is receiving the amount under LRS for what purpose? For remittance. From whom? From a buyer who is remitting such amount. Then this authorized dealer has to collect tax at source on that remittance amount. Second one, if the person is the seller of overseas tour package and he is receiving the amount from a buyer for purchasing the tour package, then this seller is required to collect tax at source on such amount. So this is the two conditions on which the TCS would be collected under this section. Now, because there was an amendment with effect from 1st October 2023, so we will bifurcate the provision. What was the provision if the transaction is undertaken before 1st October 2023 or if the transaction is undertaken on or after 1st October 2023. Just a second, students. Just give me a 1 minute, student. So we will bifurcate the provisions before. What would be the condition? What would be the rate of TCS? What would be the purpose and all this? If the transaction is taken place on or before 1st October 2023 or if it is on or after 1st October 2023. So if the transaction is undertaken before 1st October 2023, first deal with that the earlier position of the law. So in this case, already told you it is TCS is applicable on two persons. First is your authorized dealer and the second one is seller of overseas tour package. So if the amount is received for the purpose of overseas tour package by the seller and the amount is received before 1st October 2023, then he is required to collect tax at source at the rate of 5% without any threshold limit. So you don't need to say if the overseas tour package is of suppose 5 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, then straight the seller has to collect tax at source at the rate 5% on that overseas tour package. Clear? But for the authorized dealer, if you have remitted the amount under LRS, then you have to see the purpose for which you are remitting the amount. So if that amount is remitting before 1st October 2023, then if the amount which is remitted, amount remitted is from out of loan obtained from financial institution referred to in section 50E, and it is for the purpose of what? For the purpose of education. Then the TCS rate would be 0.5% of the amount or aggregate of amount exceeding rupees 7 lakh. It means up to 7 lakh. In this case, in the case of authorized dealer, there is a threshold limit. In this case, there is a threshold limit of rupees 7 lakh. Without any purpose, without anything, if you are remitting the amount under LRS and you are paying the amount to the authorized dealer, then up to 7 lakh, there will be no TCS. Above 7 lakh, you have to see the purpose. If you are remitting the amount out of the loan which is obtained from financial institution, which is referred to in section 80E, and remittance of the amount is for the purpose of education, then the TCS rate would be 0.5% on the amount exceeding 7 lakh rupees. But if it is not for this purpose, yani it means it is for any other purpose, then the TCS rate would be 5% of the amount exceeding 7 lakh. Is it clear, students? I am just a bit telling the provision which is before 1st October 2023. If the transaction, if the amount is remitted or the overseas tour package is taken before 1st October 2023, then what would be the position and what would be the rate of TCS to be collected by authorized dealer or overseas tour package? In this case, overseas tour package seller has to collect tax at source at the rate 5% without any threshold limit. But when the amount is remitting under the LRS to the authorized dealer, then there is a threshold limit of rupees 7 lakh. It means up to 7 lakh, there would be no TCS, and over and above that, you have to see the purpose. If the amount is out of loan from financial institution, which is referred to in section 80, why this is important? Because it should not be like you are taking the loan from your employer or from your friend. In that case, this concessional rate of TCS would not be applicable. The loan should be obtained from the financial institution, which is referred to in section 80E, and you are remitting for the purpose of education. Then TCS rate that would be collected by the authorized dealer would be 0.5% of the amount exceeding 7 lakh. For any other purposes, whether it's for out of your saving, for your relative, some gift, as a gift, for any other purposes, TCS rate would be 5% of the amount exceeding 7 lakh. Is it clear? Viraj, Ajay, Preeti, the provision up till 1st October 2023, is it clear? Is there any doubt? Because now after 1st October, on or after 1st October 23, the different rates of TCS will be there. The purposes will undergo a change. So now it will be more complicated now, because you have to remember the rates and the purposes also. Clear? Okay. Now the position which is for on or after 1st October 2023. Similarly, for seller of overseas, why I'm doing this separate for both? because there are two type of transactions on which TCS would be collected in this case. So if the overseas tour package has been taken on or after 1st October 2023, then the seller is required to collect tax at source at the rate 5% if the amount is up to 7 lakh and at the rate 20% on amount exceeding rupees 7 lakh. So it means, suppose Mr. X has taken the overseas tour package in May and the amount was 5 lakh. So there would be no threshold limit. So seller has to collect tax at source at the rate 5% because the transaction undertook on or before 1st October 2023. But suppose Mr. has taken a overseas tour package in November 2023 and he has not taken any other tour packages before that, and now he has taken for suppose 10 lakh. Then what would be the case? Up to 7 lakh, the rate would be 5%, and beyond that, that is on rupees 3 lakhs, the rate would be 20%. There is no threshold limit for non-collection of TCS under this section on overseas tour package. Even the amount is 50,000 or 1 lakh, the tax has to be collected by the seller for overseas tour package. But the difference is that if it is before 1st October 2023, it is 5%. No, without seeing whether it's of 7 lakh or exceeding 7 lakh, but on or after 1st October 2023, if the amount is up to 7 lakh, then the rate would be 5%. After that, it would be 20%. Is it clear? Overseas tour package. Now we move to the main thing, that is authorized dealer. Okay. Now in the authorized dealer, you have to see the purpose. First purpose, which I already told you, that the remittance is out of loan obtained from financial institution referred under section 80E and for the purpose of education. Then the rate would be the same as it was before 1st October 2023, that is 0.5% of the amount exceeding 7 lakh. So there is no change of rate. In this case, the concessional rate would be applicable on or after 1st October 2023 also. The second purpose they have introduced, that is for the purpose of education or medical. There might be a case that you are remitting the amount for the purpose of education, but that is not a loan obtained from financial institution, but the amount is for the purpose of education. That would fall under this category. In this case, the TCS rate would be 5% of the amount exceeding rupees 7 lakh. So two purposes are there. Now the residuary, any other purposes, as a gift you are giving, you are remitting, or any other purposes which doesn't fall under the above two categories, then the rate would be 20% of the amount exceeding rupees 7. Is it clear, students? If the amount is out of the remittance is out of loan obtained from financial institution under section 80E and it's for the purpose of education, whether it is before 1st October 2023 or on or after 2023, the TCS rate would be the same, 0.5% of the amount exceeding 7 lakh. But if it is for the purpose of education and medical, if you see there was no another bifurcation before 1st October 2023. The rate was 5% in all the other cases. But now they have made the cases ki if it is for the purpose of education and medical, then the similar 5% rate will be there. But for any other purposes, 20%, they have increased the rate by 20%. So if it is for other purposes, then it was 5% before 1st October 2023, but it is now 20% on or after 1st October 2023. Now what is about this 7 lakh? Everywhere we are writing amount exceeding 7 lakh, amount exceeding 7 lakh. What does it mean? It means whether we will get the benefit, that threshold benefit for different portion. Like for before 1st October 2023, we will get the benefit of 7 lakh threshold limit. Then on or after 1st October 2023, we will again get the benefit of 7 lakh. No. For authorized dealer, if the amount is remitting outside overseas remittance, then the threshold limit is consolidated 7 lakh, whether it's for any other purposes, whether it's for education purpose, for medical purpose, for any other purpose. There's a one threshold limit of 7 lakh only, one time threshold limit. Separate threshold limit is not there for the separate different purposes. For authorized dealer, there is a consolidated threshold limit of 7 lakh for whatever purposes you are remitting the amount under LRS. So, okay, is it clear? Now, second question comes, whether that 7 lakh limit is applicable for each authorized dealer. Suppose there is an authorized dealer of, suppose HDFC Bank, then second authorized dealer is of SBI Bank. So, each authorized dealer has to see the 7 lakh limit, ki whether they are required to collect tax at source. No, this 7 lakh limit is for per remitter, not per authorized dealer. So this 7 lakh limit is for remitter and not authorized dealer. It means suppose I am a person, I am remitting the amount through different authorized dealer. This 7 lakh limit would be applicable on me as a person, not on the different authorized dealer. If I am remitting the amount exceeding 7 lakh, then the authorized dealer has to collect tax at source, whether I have transacted the amount of less than 7 lakh or rupees 5 lakh or so on. But if the consolidated my limit, the person limit, the remitter limit exceeds 7 lakh, then authorized dealer has to collect tax at source. Yes, Preeti, it's for financial year. 7 lakh is for each financial year. So now we are talking about previous year 2023-24. Without any getting bifurcation of before 1st October 2023, it's for whole financial year, the 7 lakh limit is there. Okay, so next question where what it arises here is whether this 7 lakh and this 7 lakh for overseas tour package, these are two separate limit or the combined limit? These are two separate limit. That's why I have made it a bifurcation. Ki if this 7 lakh limit is for the remittance under LRS to the authorized dealer, and this 7 lakh limit is for the overseas tour package. So separate 7 lakh limit is there for the tour packages and for the remittance under LRS to authorized dealer. So this 7 lakh limit is separate for both the persons. Is it clear? Is it clear, students? Because it's very necessary, you have to see the rates, you have to see the dates, you have to see the purposes for which the amount is remitting. It is for overseas tour package or it's for the remittance. then remittance is for the purpose, is it for education purpose? Is it for medical purpose? Is it for this from the amount which is obtained, loan which is obtained from financial institution? You have to see all these things to decide what would be the rate to collect tax at source on that. Okay, now education, we are telling about education. What kind of remittance is covered under education and medical? Education, it includes remittance for purchase of tickets of the person who is going for study abroad. Plus, it includes tuition fees and other payments to education institute where he is going for study, and any other day-to-day expenses for study. All this will be treated as remittance for the purpose of education. For medical, remittance, same remittance for purchase of ticket of the person for whose treatment the amount is remitting. Plus your medical expenses, medical treatment expenses which we have incurred, plus like similar other day-to-day or incident expenses for medical treatment. They would be classified that the amount is remitted for the purpose of medical. Now under the overseas tour package. Suppose I am a person residing in India and I am taking the tour packages from a foreign tour operator. So I have to I am remitting the amount for these tour packages under LRS. So where that payment will be classified? It will be classified as under LRS to authorized dealer, or it will be classified for purchase of overseas tour package. Possible, you are taking a overseas tour package not from the Indian tour operator, from a foreign tour operator. And for that, you have to remit the amount, and you are remitting the amount under LRS to that foreign tour operator. So in that case, that LRS provision is also applicable and the overseas tour package provision is also applicable. But in that case, because this is a specific provision for the overseas tour package here, so the foreign tour operator has to collect tax at source as an seller of overseas tour package, and it will be collected at the rate 5% if it is before 1st October and 5% up to 7 lakh and 20% exceeding 7 lakh पे on or after 1st October 2000. Okay. Now, what is this overseas tour package? What comes under overseas tour package? Overseas tour package, it includes your international tickets, your stay expenses, boarding and lodging, and any other incidental expenses. Suppose I am from the tour operator, I'm just taking the international ticket. I'm just booking the international ticket, and I'm not doing any hotel accommodation or stay arrangement from that tour operator. So whether it will be classified as a overseas tour package, or suppose I'm not booking the tickets from that tour operator, I'm just taking the hotel accommodation from that tour operator. So will it classify as the overseas tour package? No. At least two combination of two should be there to classify it as an overseas tour package. Either international ticket plus stay expenses, or stay expenses plus any other, or international ticket or any other. So it should be a combination of two to classify it as an overseas tour package. If you are booking only the international tickets through the tour operator, then it would not be classified as overseas tour package. Or if you are doing the international tickets by yourself and you are just doing the taking the hotel accommodation from the tour operator, then also it will not classify as a overseas tour package. There should be at least combination of two out of these three to classify it as an overseas tour package. Okay. For overseas tour package, there is one notification also that the TCS under this section would not be applicable, not applicable to whom? To a non-resident, being a buyer. Who is a non-resident? You have to see as per section 6. And doesn't have what? Doesn't have a P in India. So it means if a non-resident is taking a overseas tour package from an Indian tour operator, then the tour operator is not required to collect tax at source. By way of notification, this exemption is given to a non-resident, provided he is a non-resident and doesn't have a P in India. Is it clear, student? Now, after that, we will understand this with the help of a case scenario. But before that, is the provision clear to you? Because I will ask questions from you whether TCS will be applicable in the respective transaction or in the respective by the respective banks, authorized dealers. So, if you have any doubt in the provision, please ask. Otherwise, we will just move to the case scenario and be ready with the case scenario also.
Sorry, ma'am, can you
Yes.
please explain once again overseas tour packaging?
Overseas tour package, you want to understand the rates or this exemption or what?
What will be included in that?
Okay, overseas tour package, में 3 things will be there. First is your international tickets. Second, your stay, hotel accommodation and boarding and lodging expenses. And the third one is any other incidental expenses of similar nature. If you are taking suppose you are just taking the international tickets from the tour operator and you are not doing any stay arrangement or hotel accommodation or any other type of services from the tour operator, you are just booking the flight tickets through an operator, then it would not be considered as an overseas tour package. What is the package means? Package means it should be a combination. If you are just taking the tickets only from the tour operator, it is not overseas tour package. Similarly, suppose you are doing the flight tickets by yourself and you are just taking the hotel accommodation through the tour operator. Then in that case also, it will not classify as an overseas tour package because this is not a package. You are taking one service only. Package means you have to take any 2 services out of this. Then it will be classified as a package, overseas tour package. Is it clear? Preeti, is it clear? Okay, now we just move to the case scenario. This case scenario relates to two persons, Mr. Sahil and Mr. Akil. So we will see one by one. About first, we will just see about the Mr. Sahil. I will not go directly to the MCQ. I will ask on each and every transaction whether the TCS provision would be applicable or not. Then we will move to the MCQs. What is the requirement of the MCQs? And accordingly, we will answer that. Mr. Sahil, he remitted to his eldest son Arav, who is pursuing 2-year MBA program for Columbia University, USA. Okay, so Mr. Sahil is remitting the amount. He is remitting out of his own savings through HDFC Bank, which is an authorized dealer, and under LRS. So it means it will be classified. It will be classified under section 2061G because the amount is remitting under LRS to an authorized dealer. Okay. He is remitting first transaction he remitted on 5th of July 2023, and it is for tuition fees of rupees 3,50,000. Okay. Then he further remitted on 10th May 2023 for day-to-day expenses for study purpose, which was 1,20,000. Then again he remitted on 29th September 2023, 90,000 rupees for day-to-day expenses. Then again on 1st January, 1,35,000 for study purpose. Okay. Now then through Axis Bank, he has changed the authorized dealer to Axis Bank, through which he remitted under LRS out of loan towards tuition fees on 11th October and 10th of January. $3,50,000. Then again on 10th of January, 3,50,000. Then he further remitted out of his own savings to meet the day-to-day expenses on 1st July 2023, which is of 1,50,000. Then next point says that he visited USA from 10th April to 13th April, for which he purchased a tour package from Messrs. Get to Travel, a foreign tour operator, and remitted money under LRS on 5th April 2023. International travel tickets and hotel accommodation are included in there. The amount was 5,20,000. Mr. Sahil has furnished undertaking containing the details of earlier remittance. Okay, because now in this safe, you see the 7 lakh threshold limit is per remitter, not the per authorized dealer. So how HDFC will know whether the Axis Bank has collected the tax source, or how Axis Bank will know that HDFC has collected tax source on the amount, or the amount exceeds 7 lakh or not. For that, the SECI has to furnish a declaration undertaking of previous remittance to the next bank. If in this case, first transaction is happened with the HDFC Bank, when Mr. Sahil took the transactions with the Axis Bank authorized dealer, then he has to submit the undertaking about what were the remittance he has made to the HDFC authorized dealer, so that the Axis Bank know whether their 7 lakh limit is exhausted or when they are required to collect tax at source. So before going to the MCQs, then just see this part of Mr. Sahil. In this, two things are there. He is remitting under LRS to authorized dealer, and the second one, he is purchasing the tour package. So we will bifurcate this transaction between two. Firstly, we will see about the tour package. Mr. Sahil, he has taken a tour package because it includes both tickets and hotel accommodation. So it is classified as an overseas tour package because he is going abroad. He has taken a tour package from Messrs. Get to Travel, a foreign tour operator. So tour operator, the seller of tour package, has to collect tax at source on the overseas tour package without seeing any threshold limit. So whether it's a 5,20,000 or if it's a 10 lakh, it has to collect tax at source. The remittance of amount is on 5th April 2023. That is before 1st October 2023. Then now student asked me at what rate Messrs. Get to travel has to collect tax source on this 5,20,000 from Mr. Sahil. All the conditions have been met. Ajay says 5%. Preeti, Viraj,
5%.
5%. Yes, since the transaction, the amount is remitted before 1st October 2023 to a seller of overseas tour package has to collect tax source at the rate 5%. So they have to collect 5%. Suppose this transaction, this remittance was is in November. Then
also 5% because
then also 5% because up to 7 lakh the rate is 5% for the overseas tour package. If it is 12 lakh, then
up to 7 lakh 5% and for balance amount 20%.
yes, up to 7 lakh it will be 5% and on the remaining 5 lakh it will be 20%. No, Viraj, you are saying for 12 lakh it is 20%. I have told you if the remittance is on or after 1st October 23 for the tour package, overseas tour package, then up to 7 lakh it will be 5% and exceeding 7 lakh it will be 20%. So slab is there if for overseas tour package remittance that is on or after 1st October 2023. Is it clear now, Viraj? Ajay, yes, up to 7 lakh 5% and above 7 lakh 20%. Okay. So for overseas tour package, provisions are very much clear. Now just move to the remittance to authorized dealer. In this case, the date of remittance is the most important thing because you have to see the transaction on which date it has been occurred because you have to bifurcate before 1st October and after 1st October and for the seeing the amount of threshold limit of 7 lakh because you have to see when this transaction has been happened to see when the threshold limit of 7 lakh exhausted. So the dates of the remittance is very, very, very important in this case. So we just make a timeline for that. First transaction is on 5th July, 10th May, 29th September, 1st January, 11th October, 10th, 1st July again. So we will just make a timeline for that. First transaction was on 10th May 2023. I am making the timeline 1st October because it's important. We have to see the amendments, see the amended rates. The first transaction, whether it was with HDFC or it's a Axis Bank, it doesn't matter because it is with the authorized dealer. And the 7 lakh limit has to see on per remitter, not the per authorized dealer. So for the purpose of collecting the taxed source, you have to see the 7 lakh limit as a whole, as a consolidated limit. First remittance was on 10th of May 2023 of rupees 1,20,000. So is there any requirement to collect taxed source by the authorized dealer? On the first transaction of rupees 1,20,000, tell me students. No, because up to 7 lakh, there is no requirement to collect taxed source by the authorized dealer. This 7 lakh limit is for the authorized dealer, not for overseas tour package. So in this case, no TCS. So I'm just writing here also, no TCS. Okay. Now, second transaction, because there it's not exceeding 7 lakh, we don't need to see the purpose also here. Preeti, yeah. Now, the second transaction is on 1st of July 2023 of rupees 1,50,000. 1st July 2023 of rupees 1,50,000. So, whether while remitting this amount of rupees 1,50,000 through our authorized dealer, is the authorized dealer required to collect tax at source?
No.
No, because 7 lakh limit has not been exhausted here. So in this case, in this 7 lakh also, no TCS is required to be collected. Now, what is that next transaction? Next transaction happened on 5th, remittance happened on 5th of July 2023 of rupees 3,50,000. Okay, now we have to see the aggregate amount. 3,50,000 plus 150 plus 120. So it comes to 6,20,000. So on this remittance, whether HDFC Bank is required to collect tax at source? No.
No.
Why? Because 7 lakh has not crossed here. Now the next transaction. Next transaction happened on 29 September 2023. That is also before 29th September 2023. Okay. And the amount was remitted amount was 90,000. Now, so if we see here, 6,20,000 remittance was already done. Now, if we see here, the total amount of remittance on this date, including this 90,000, would be 7,10,000. So, first question, whether bank authorized dealers required to collect tax at source on this transaction. I'm not going on the amount, the rate or the amount on which it is required to be collected. Whether authorized dealer is required to collect tax at source on 29 September, yes or no? Yes, because yes, because threshold limit of 7 lakh is crossed here by rupees 10,000. Okay. Now we have to see the rate. At what rate authorized dealer has to collect tax at source? For that, what we need to see? We have to see the purpose. For which purpose the amount is remitting. The purpose of this 29 September of 90,000 is day-to-day expenses for study purpose. Now, just go back to the provision, because since the remittance is before 1st October 2023, for the authorized dealer, there was only one condition for concessional rate of 0.5%, that it should be out of loan obtained from financial institution for the purpose of education. So, is this transaction classified under that concessional rate? No. For any other purpose, what was the rate of TCS? 5%. So, on the amount exceeding 7 lakh, TCS has to be collected at the rate 5%. So, on this 90,000, 500 rupees has to be collected by the authorized dealer. Yes, Preeti, on 10,000, 5% amount of TCS has to be collected here. Ajay, for study purpose, firstly, you have to understand that it is not for the study purpose only. That 0.5% rate is if the remittance is out of loan obtained from a financial institution. You have taken a loan, suppose from a bank, you have taken a loan for the purpose of education, and you are remitting that amount to abroad for the education purpose. Then only this 0.5% will be applicable. In this case, the amount is out of own saving, not from the loan obtained. So, concessional rate of 0.5% benefit would not be there. Why not to deduct on 7 lakh? Because I already told you that per remitter, there is a threshold limit of 7 lakh for authorized dealer. Up to 7 lakh, there will be no TCS. You have to see the 7 lakh limit per remitter, not per authorized dealer. So that's why I'm not going to who is the authorized dealer, HDFC or Axis Bank. I am just seeing Mr. Sahil has remitted 1 lakh 21st, then 1 lakh 50, then 3 lakh 50, now 90. This 90 makes it the remittance 7 lakh 10,000, which exceeds 7 lakh rupees. So up to 7 lakh, since there is no TCS, on the amount exceeding 7 lakh only, the TCS will be applicable. Okay. Now the next remittance took place on 11th of October 2023. It means it went to the right side bar, the timeline. Okay. And the amount is 3 lakh 50. Now this 7 lakh threshold limit is already exhausted. So you need not to aggregate all the time, because 7 lakh benefit you have already given at that point of time. So for after that, on each and every rupee of remittance from to the authorized dealer, you have to the authorized dealer has to collect tax at source. So in this 3 lakh 50,000, authorized dealer has to collect tax at source. But we have to see at what rate they have to collect. For rate, we have to see the purpose. For this 3 lakh 50,000, what was the purpose? That was remittance out of a loan obtained for education purpose. The remittance was out of loan towards tuition fee. It means for the purpose of education. So on this 3 lakh 50,000, the rate would be applicable 0.5%. So the TCS rate here would be 1750. Yes, 0.5%. Now the next remittance he has made on 1st of January. Again, in the right side of the timeline of rupees 1,35,000. Now we have to see the purpose, because we don't need to see the 7 lakh condition, because it is already gone now. We have to see the purpose and the rate. Now, for what this 1,35,000 is being remitted, it is for the day-to-day expenses for study purpose. It means it is for the education purpose. So if on or after 1st October 2023, remittance is for the purpose of education or medical, then the rate of TCS would be 5%, not the enhanced rate of 20%. That is for any other residuary purpose. So the rate would be 5%. So the TCS amount will be 6750. Is it clear, Viraj, Ajay? Okay. Now the last remittance is on 10th of January 2024. And the amount is 3,50,000. So TCS would be collected here, but at what rate? What is the purpose? The purpose is out of loan towards tuition fee, out of the loan for the purpose of education. So on that, the TCS rate would be 0.5%. So it would be 1750. Okay. So now for Mr. Sahil, we can go to the MCQ portion. What was the requirement of the MCQs? And because we have already collected at what stage authorized dealer has to collect tax at source, we can answer on that basis. Is HDFC Bank required to collect tax at source on the amount remitted by Sahil? First, we have to see what was the amount that is remitted through HDFC. This 3,50,000 on which we have concluded that there would be no TCS. Then on 10th May, we have concluded no TCS. On this 90,000, TCS 500 rupees. And on this 1st January 2024 transaction, the TCS would be 6750. So it means if we see on 29th September 2023, TCS has to be collected of rupees 500, and on 1st January 2024, TCS has to be collected of rupees 6,750 by HDFC Bank. So the correct answer would be C. What is the second MCQ? Second MCQ is asking about the Axis Bank. On which remittance Axis Bank is required to collect tax at source. We have already seen that also. We have made these 3 remittance through Axis Bank. For 11th October, we have concluded that TCS of rupees 1750 has to be collected. On this 10th January, for this 10th January, we have seen 1750. 15750 has to be collected here also. And on this 1st July 2023, there is no requirement to collect TCS. So on 11th October 1750 and on 10th January 1750 by Axis Bank. So again, C would be the correct answer. On 11th October, TCS of rupees 1750 and on 10th January, TCS of rupees 1750. Is tax required to be collected at source on the amount remitted for tour package to USA by Mr. Sahil? This already we have seen, because there is no threshold limit for overseas tour package. So on this 5,20,000, tour operator has to collect tax at 5%, which is your 26,000. So A would be the correct answer in this case. Is it clear, student? The remittance, the overseas tour package of Mr. Sahil. Because now we will move to the another person, Mr. Akil, that what transaction Mr. Akil has made. So if you have any doubt for this remittance which is made by Mr. Sahil, you can ask. After that, we will move to the Mr. Akhil's remittance. Preeti, Vijay, Ajay, clear? Okay. Okay, now just move to the Mr. Akhil's transactions or about the information which is given for Mr. Akhil. Mr. Akhil is an Indian citizen, got a job from Mr. Wellbeing Inc., a Dubai-based company of AED 10,500 per month. He left for Dubai on 29th March 2023 and joined the company from 1st April. Okay. He returned to India on 15th December on leaves for 15 days. It means in the previous year, 2023-24, he has visited India on 15th December on leave for 15 days. But on 23rd December, he went on 7 days tours to Bali with his wife and son. So it means he stayed from 15th December to 22nd December in India only. And after that, he directly went to Dubai from there. Okay, for this Bali tour package, he purchased that tour package for Bali from Make Your Trip and Indian tour operator, for which he paid 7,50,000 towards flight ticket and hotel accommodation. It means it's a overseas tour package. During financial year 2023-24, he has business income of 4,20,000 from India and interest on FD and saving account with Canara of this. So he is not liable to pay any tax in Dubai. So first we have to see whether Mr. Akhil is a resident or non-resident. Why we are seeing this condition? Because if Mr. Akhil is a non-resident and since he is not having any PE in India, so the provision of 206C1G would not be applicable to him. So firstly, we have to see whether he's a resident or non-resident. Since he has stayed for, he is visiting India and he has stayed for only 7 to 8 days. So he is not fulfilling any of the basic condition for being in India, for being a resident in India. So but there is a section 6 subsection 1A which says about the deemed resident provision. What it says, if an individual who is an Indian citizen whose total income excluding income from foreign sources exceeds 15 lakh and he is not liable to pay tax in another country due to his residency or domicile or another reason, then he would be a deemed resident in India. So we have to see whether Mr. Akil is falling in that category. First, yes, he is an Indian citizen. He is not liable to pay tax in Dubai. Two conditions are satisfied. What is the third condition? Third condition, that his total income excluding income from foreign sources should exceed 15 lakh. So in this case, his income in India is exceeding rupees 15 lakh. What is his income? That income which he is earning from the Dubai company, that would not form part of that total income because it says total income excluding income from foreign source. What is income from foreign source? Income which is arise in outside India. So this income accrues or arise outside India. So this will not form part of total income for the purpose of calculating 15 lakh. So this will not be counted here. Business income from retail shop in India, yes, this will be counted for this purpose. Interest on FD with Canara Bank, so that is also deemed to arise in India. So this 4,20,000 plus 1,20,000 plus 8,000. This will be form part of his total income for the purpose of seeing whether this condition of 15 lakh is satisfied or not. It is not satisfying. So it means Mr. Akil is not a deemed resident. So it means what he is? He is a non-resident in India during the previous year 2023-24. Since Mr. Akil is a non-resident, the tour operator Make Your Trip is not required to collect tax at source on this overseas tour package remittance of rupees 7,50,000. So in this case, what would be the correct answer? No tax is to be required to be collected by Make Your Trip for this tour package to Bali from Mr. Akil, because Mr. Akil is a non-resident. If Mr. Akil was a resident during this previous year 2023-24, then tour operator has to collect tax at source on this 7,50,000. So in that case, suppose I am changing the question. If Mr. Akil is a resident, assume he is a resident, then tell me the amount of the rate of TCS which Make Your Trip is required to be collected is on this 7,50,000. In this case, Mr. Akil is becoming the non-resident. That's why this provision is not applicable. 206C1G is not applicable. But suppose if Mr. Akil is a resident, then what would be the TCS amount that Make Your Trip is required to be collected? Yes, Ajay, on rupees 7 lakh, 5% TCS rate, and on the balance amount of 50,000, 20% has to be collected by Make Your Trip, because this remittance, this purchase of tour packages has been undertaken on or after 1st October 2023. So very good. You are very much clear with the provision. So it's good. So now just move to the next MCQ. What is the total income of Mr. Akil for the assessment year 2024-25? Assume he has shifted out of the default tax regime. What is the meaning of this? Keep in remember, that means he is paying tax under regular provisions, normal provisions of that. It means he is eligible for the deduction exemption, which is normally eligible under normal provisions. We have already seen his income. Because he is non-resident, this income is accrue arise outside India, that would not be part of his total income because this is out of his scope of total income. Only these three income would be chargeable to tax in India. So that it would be 4 lakh, 5 lakh, 48,000. But this will be the gross total income. If you see the interest on FD and saving account, on the interest on saving account, there is a section 80 TTA, in which respect the interest on saving account deduction can be claimed for interest on saving account up to rupees 10,000 by an individual, whether the individual is a resident or a non-resident. So even if the Mr. Akhil is non-resident, still he is eligible for the 80 TTA deduction under section 80 TTA up to rupees 10,000. Here the interest is only 8,000, so he will get the deduction of rupees 8,000 only. So what would be his total income? His total income would be 5,40,000. So the correct answer would be D. If in this case, suppose Mr. Akhil is paying tax under default tax regime, then the correct answer would have been 5,80,000 because 80 TTA deduction would not be available to him under default tax regime. What would the next MCQ? Next MCQ says to determine the amount of tax liability in a most beneficial manner. In the fifth MCQ, it is already mentioned that he has shifted out of the default tax regime. But in the next MCQ, you have to determine the tax liability as per both the tax regime and determine the tax liability which is beneficial for the assessee, for the Mr. Akhil. So we have to see under default also, under normal provision also. Okay, under default tax regime, what would be the total income of Mr. Akhil? That would be 5,48,000 because 80 TTA deduction would not be available to Mr. Akhil. So on this, what would be the rate, tax liability? Up to 3 lakh, the basic exemption limit basic exemption limit under default tax regime is 3 lakh, is irrespective of the age of the assessee. So up to 3 lakh, there will be no tax. 3 to 6, between 3 to 6, the 5% rate will be there. So the tax liability of Mr. Akhil under default tax regime would be rounded off 12,900. What would be tax liability under normal provision? First, we have to see the total income. Total income we have already computed, it's 5,40,000. For that, up to 2,50,000, there will be no tax. Between 250 to 5 lakh, 5% rate is there. 5 to 10 lakh, 20% rate is there. So in that case, his tax liability would be 20,500. With HEC, it would be 21,320. So which is more beneficial, because the question is asking for in the most beneficial manner. So it is beneficial for Mr. Akhil to be under the default tax regime only and pay the tax 12,900, which is less than the under regular provision of the Act. So the correct answer would be B, 12,900. So in this case scenario, is it clear to you, students? We have gone through the provision of non-resident, deemed resident provision, and see the provisions related to 206C1G, because there was an amendment, there's a different rate, slab rate is also there for overseas tour package, threshold limit is there, different purposes on which TCS is required to be collected. So I hope this section is very much clear to you. Thank you, Viraj.
Hope you find this session useful. Dimple explained the provision of section 206C1G, and in a very lucid manner, she has revised all the things in a very clear manner, right? All the guidelines, although she tried to cover what is education, what is medical, what would be covered under this overseas tour package. These are very important things. See, it's a case scenario based question, integrated, right? She has covered the residential status also, tried to cover that, deemed resident who is can be a deemed resident also, then default tax regime, then regular provision. So everything, matlab, we are trying to cover it. So see, in this case now, there you have having the options, but main student, one thing I want to tell you, that in case of descriptive question now, whatever be the reasoning, you have to clearly write in your answers. Don't write unnecessary things, to the point write those things and highlight those important points, so that now whoever is checking your copies now, he is clearly aware that the student is aware of the provision itself. So highlight with the pen, whatever pen you are using, highlight those things clearly, right? Mention कि whatever be the strategy you are using, what is the provision based on you are arriving at, कि TCS किस रेट से लगेगा, किस रेट से नहीं लगेगा, अप्लाई होगा नहीं होगा. So whatever be the reasoning, whatever the analysis of the provision, you have to bring out, you have to show it to the examiner that yeah, you know it about it, right? So be very clear with the provision, and accordingly state clearly, write the answers also. Otherwise, मतलब we are having, मतलब we received many queries, मैम मैंने तो पता था, I know about the provision, मेरे को आता था, मैंने लिखा भी था, लेकिन when we check, मतलब try to check, go through these things, so we found कि बच्चे ने लिखा ही नहीं है. Whatever the clearly you have to mention it also. You know it, then you have to show it also, right? So accordingly, write the answers in your sheets properly in a presentable form. Highlight the important key points,
yes.
so that easily he will come to know, yeah, he knows the things. Then you will get the marks also, right? This is the main strategy examination point of view, because whatever you learn, you have to show it also, that yeah, you are fully aware of, you have the full understanding. Accordingly, you write your answers basically. So these are the things we could try to cover. Equalization levy, we try to cover this TCS provision. These we think that yeah, these are the new amendment things, so you have to be thorough with those things. We could revise you all these things. In case of any query, you can mail, you can write to us, or you can raise your query through the BoS knowledge portal, that student portal also, mobile app through you can raise your query, right? Be calm and have confidence on yourself that you have done your studies properly. Then definitely you are going to come out with a good marks. So take care of your health also. This is a high time that you all are in your preparation time. So be calm, full confidence on you, take care of your health as well, right? You have to, now it's a time to show up,
yes.
right? So anything else, Dimple, you want to?
Thank you, Viraj. We are very happy that your concepts are clear. Don't be panic during the exam.
Yes.
Whether that, if you see the question paper, if you know the provisions, then also don't be so excited and don't get so nervous also.
Yeah.
Try to be calm and composed in the examination hall.
Utilize that 15 minutes time,
Yes.
reading time, right? Descriptive may whatever be the choice, because out of 5 you have to choose the 5. Be clear with that, and do attempt the first question which you know the very best, right? Attempt that first, okay? And then accordingly proceed with all the parts of the question should be in continuation. This is the main things कि आप इधर parts नहीं करना आपको. You have to write all the parts of a question. For example, in question 4 there are 3 parts. So all parts should be in line. In case you don't know something in one part, you leave that space, then come again and in case time permits, then you write it. Otherwise, just cross it. You don't worry about the leaving space in that manner. Or the MCQs may be very cautious while marking in the OMR sheets, filling the answers. Whatever you are filling, it should be correct what you have been chosen, right? Go through the MCQ portion again, revise it again, because वहाँ पे गलती से भी you should not do any mistake. So be very cautious in attempting your MCQ section. Descriptive में substantiate your answers with proper reasoning.
Very much necessary.
Right? Very much necessary. वहाँ पे क्या है ना, बच्चों को पता होता है but marks नहीं आ रहे, because they want to know कि आपको as it is, this is not a mathematical question, right? It is based on the provision.
You have to write the provision.
You are arriving something, then you have to also write in your answers that based on this provision you are arriving at, right? Don't write unnecessary things. To the point you will write, then definitely you are going to fetch a good marks. You don't worry about it. And with this, all the very best to all of you, and please take care of your health and prepare well for your examination.
Yes. All the best.
All the very best. We can close the session now. Yeah, Preeti, for every question it depends on the marks also. कि how much marks it carries. Accordingly, you have to definitely substantiate question. For example, आपका computational based question है, there are certain adjustment you have to do, that whether it's disallowed or not allowed. A
You
brief
have to
reason
write
you
the
have to
reasoning.
give. According to that reason only you are disallowing it. According to this provision only you are this is allowable experiment. No adjustment is required then. So everything you have to mention it briefly. You have to mention and highlight it also, right? So you have to give the reasoning. Definitely for descriptive portion in tax paper, especially you required to give the reasoning, right? जैसे यही वाले क्वेश्चन में she explained you the deemed resident provision. She explained you कि why the tour operator is not required to collect the TCS because he is a non-resident. तो non-resident क्यों है? Because he had not stayed for this period of time. He has stayed in India for this period only. You have to clearly
mention in the descriptive question. You have to write all these things.
Yes. Yeah, effective rate कैसे derive हुआ, what, because at what time the transaction is being taken effect, right? Accordingly, you have to mention this transaction is taken on this date. That's why this has to be 20% rate has to be applied. 5% का slab factor will come into picture in case of overseas tour package after 1st October 2022. This you have to mention it, right? Hope. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. With all the very best.
All the very best, students.